Breaking news out of the NBA. Unfortunately, it was expected. Celtic star Jayson Tatum has officially been diagnosed with a torn Achilles. The Celtics put out a statement late Tuesday afternoon saying Jayson Tatum today underwent successful surgery to repair a ruptured right Achilles tendon. No timetable is currently available for his return, but he is expected to make a full recovery. Tatum suffered that injury during the fourth quarter of Monday night's Game 4 loss to the Knicks, had to be helped to the locker room. He will miss the remainder of the playoffs and potentially all of next season. Let's welcome in our NBA experts, Quinn, John Gonzalez here. Sam, I'm going to start with you because before we came on here, you said this is a sad day for the NBA because this is one of those things. When this happened last night and we saw when he went down, the pain he was in, every NBA fan felt for that man and for the Celtics.
It's really one of the most consequential injuries in NBA history, right? Like, how often do you have a first-team All-NBA player in their 20s suffer an injury that's probably going to keep him out for a full season, right? At that point, you're talking about Derrick Rose, you're talking about Bill Walton, you're talking about Bernard King. These are guys whose careers were really affected by this, and there's a chance that Jayson Tatum just isn't the same guy after this injury. You know, a torn Achilles has ruined a lot of careers. It ended Kobe Bryant's prime. It ended DeMarcus Cousins' time as a star. We really don't know what Jayson Tatum is going to look like after this. Obviously, the model would be Kevin Durant. He missed an entire season. He came back as an all-star, as an MVP candidate, really. Tatum is not the shooter that Durant is. It's going to be a little bit different as far as what kind of player he recovers into. But, you know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we were thinking the Celtics might be in the middle of starting a dynasty. Now, this season's over. Next season's probably gone for them. And we don't know what the future holds. So this is a really sad day for Boston and for the entire NBA to lose such a great player for a year and who knows how much more.
John, just your reaction.
Yeah, Sam's absolutely. So yeah, Sam's absolutely right. I mean, the point of the season where this injury occurs in the playoffs means that he's probably done for next year because rehabbing it takes generally about a year. And then when you get him back, you don't know what kind of Jayson Tatum you're getting. And it's also shocking because this is one of the most durable players of his era. He's always available. I mean, through his first 8 seasons, he has the 3rd most playoff minutes in NBA history. Only Larry Bird and Horace Grant had played more over the same point. Just the other day, even though he hadn't been playing well in the series, he passed Kobe Bryant for the 2nd most playoff points at 27 years old. Only LeBron has more points in the postseason at 27. So we were witnessing what maybe like an underappreciated great player, but certainly a great player. Because as Sam mentioned, he's going to make first-team All-NBA again. He's going to finish 4th in the MVP race. He means so much to the Boston Celtics, who are the defending NBA champions. Last night, Al Horford was asked about losing Jayson Tatum and the loss, and he said, forget about the loss. And I thought that was striking because these are the defending champions who are down 3-1 and are trying to claw back into this thing and defend their chip. And the only thing that any of them were thinking about in the locker room was Jayson Tatum, oh no, this is awful for him. This is awful for our team. This is awful for Boston. So, yeah, just a tremendous blow, not just to the Celtics, but obviously to Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, so many players after the game, Derek White, you know, they were saying, look, our thoughts right now aren't about this game. Our thoughts are with him, knowing what kind of player he is, what he means to the Celtics franchise. We're going to talk about the game coming up here in a second, but John, let me ask you this. When it comes to the business of the Celtics, what could be the ramifications of this? I mean, Sam mentioned maybe this was a team going on a dynasty run, and this is a team that was already talking about potentially having to cut costs. They have a massive payroll. What could this mean for the future of the Celtics and Jayson Tatum's injury?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it really could reorder the East. We were talking a little bit Bill Ryder, our NBA insider, and I were talking a little bit about it on Beyond the Arc earlier today. But you're thinking about Boston and how the continuity there was really, and for previous teams too, being able to keep your team together is everything. Well, now with the new CBA structure and the first and second aprons and the luxury tax bill and the repeater bill, that team is going to be hugely expensive. And it's not going to have a lot of ways to improve, especially with Jayson Tatum likely missing next year. So then you look at the team, okay, are they good enough with, you know, an older team with Drew Holiday, who hasn't played as well offensively this year. Derek White is a very good player, but, you know, he'll be a year on. Kristaps Porzingis, he hasn't looked like himself since coming back from his injury? What do you do with Al Horford? And now you're asking just a ton from Jaylen Brown in the Eastern Conference, where the Cavaliers might get bounced out. You don't know where they're going to be. The Knicks all of a sudden are a game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't even want to mention the team in Philadelphia, but they just landed the 3rd pick in the draft. They have at least an asset to dangle in front of somebody to potentially improve. You go from having the Boston Celtics at the top of the pecking order in the Eastern Conference to going, man, the East might get wholly reordered this offseason. And I didn't even mention, by the way, that Giannis might be moving on as well. So, yeah, we're looking at a huge shakeup in the East.
Yeah, they have a projected $493 million payroll next year. That was going to be hard to justify even if they were the defending champions. If Jayson Tatum is going to miss next season, there's no way they're going to pay a tax bill like that. That would be nuts. So you look up and down that roster and you start to wonder who's going to make sense here long term. Well, Drew Holiday is 34. He has 3 very expensive seasons left on his contract. And he probably only makes sense for a team that thinks it could win the championship next season. I would imagine he's going to be on the trade block when this offseason arrives. I wonder if Kristaps Porzingis is going to be on the trading block. He's on an expiring contract, but I think the Celtics have been able to treat him as a luxury over the last 2 years because they've had Al Horford, because they've had such a dominant team. Now, I just don't know that you can afford to take the risk that his medical history provides. So I'm thinking the team is probably going to look very different. And just thinking a little bit longer term, you look at the way that they've played as they've built this championship contender. It's been sort of positionless, right? Where Jayson Tatum kind of functions almost as a point guard on offense. They have guys who can defend at every position. Their centers can shoot threes. Building a team like that is pretty difficult. And I look forward to this, where Drew Holiday might not be on the team in the next few years, where Porzingis might be about to move. I think the team might have to look a little bit more conventional. You might have to get a traditional point guard to run your offense so that you don't put that burden on Jayson Tatum after he comes back from the torn Achilles. So what makes this team special is seriously at risk right now. I would assume they're about to shed some payroll. They're going to really reorient the roster, try to get younger. And then hopefully when Tatum comes back in 26, 27, they can make another run at this with a different sort of team.
It is hard to say to Celtics fans, that team that won you the championship and potentially could take you there this season, it does not look like that team will exist moving forward. But look, let's look to the game tomorrow night. They are down 3-1 against the Knicks. The Knicks could go ahead and punch their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals, but this is a team that they've been able to sit on the news of Jayson Tatum now. They will be out there playing for him. Sam, maybe just even in the game, do they have a chance to win this game?
Well, I think the way the Celtics play, I mean, we heard about this in games 1 and 2, where they shot 25% from 3. They take so many threes that they're simultaneously very subject to getting upset by a lesser team. But it also means when they're down a player or two, they have the variance to potentially upset a favorite, right? If you're taking 53s in a game, you might get hot and make 23, 24 of them, and suddenly it doesn't matter who the Knicks have on the floor and who you don't. You have a great chance to win that game. But short of really extreme shooting variance, they're just at such a disadvantage now, right? Because remember, even before Tatum went down, Jaylen Brown has been dealing with a knee injury all postseason. Drew Holiday has been hobbled throughout the postseason. We don't really know what's been going on with Kristaps Porzingis beyond this illness, but he hasn't looked like himself. If everybody else was healthy, maybe you could talk yourself into Boston mounting a real challenge here. But everybody on that team is dealing with something right now, and taking Tatum off of it just feels like the finishing blow.
Yeah, Sam's right. I mean, they do have a shot because I mean, we've seen how they play all season long. They jack up as many threes as they possibly can. Sometimes that works out to their benefit, as it did in Game 3, where they shot 50% from the floor. Sometimes it looks really ugly, even when you had Jayson Tatum, and Jayson Tatum wasn't shooting the ball well before Game 4. And that's another thing that we didn't even really discuss. It's such a shame that in his best game of the series, when he was challenged to play better, when he challenged himself to play better, he responded, and then he crumpled, and now he's out for the foreseeable future. But they have a ton of people on that team that shoot. It's just whether or not the shot is falling. When it isn't falling, as Sam mentioned, they're hyper vulnerable. Game 1, they looked awful. They put up 63s. They missed the most threes in a playoff game in NBA history and took the most threes in a game in NBA history. And then what happened? The Knicks mounted a 20-point comeback. They did it again in game 2. They did it again last night. It wasn't 20-point, it was 14-point. But the Knicks are super resilient, and the Celtics right now are reeling, right? They lost their best player right in front of them for who knows how long, probably all of next season. They have to be thinking about that. And I would expect it to take a toll on them. Now, they are favored in this game, and they are 8-2 this season. It's not a huge sample size, but they're 8-2 this season without Jayson Tatum. So I do give them a puncher's chance. I think that they might pull this one out, just like, a rally win one for Jayson Tatum type of situation. But I don't expect that they'll win the series. I think that the Knicks are going to be moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years.
Just looking at that game 4 and how much he meant, 42 points in 40 minutes. They still lost the game 113 to 121 without those 42 points. They would have only put up 71. Obviously, somebody else would have been putting up some points there, but that is very telling for how much Jayson Tatum means to this team. Guys, we really appreciate it. Jayson Tatum, the Knicks losing him to a torn Achilles, a huge blow. Our medical expert, Marty Jaramillo, has some information.
On average, rehab post-surgery is between 6 and 9 months, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less, depending on the procedure that's used. Now, at best, he would be on the court by next March or April with that 6 to 9 months time frame. But once again, once you are clear to play, then you have to ramp up your minutes and ramp up your conditioning.
We appreciate all of our experts weighing in on this breaking news. Just a huge blow to the Celtics, to the really NBA in general, losing Jayson Tatum to a torn Achilles. You know they're going to be talking about this at length on the Beyond the Arc podcast. Make sure to download and follow. You can also check it out if you want to scan the QR code.